Yes, good morning, children. So here we are going to start off the poem, The Road Not Taken. So as already mentioned in the previous lectures, the road stands for the choices or the decisions which we make. And here the focus of the title, in the title, the poet basically, focuses upon the choice which he did not make and the effect of that choice, which what he did not do, what happened consequently. So as I told you, the poem is autobiographical in nature. It's in this poem, the poet, talks about his own experience. It's about the choice which he did not make or the decision which he did not take. So here, if we take this poem metaphorically, then this poem can be taken in two ways. Number one, on the surface level, it's about the road, the real road which he did not take, and because he got confused as to which road would take him to the destination, and the first road which he considered, that was full of that was full of grass and leaves, and the other road was equally laden with grass or leaves. Now it became difficult for him to choose any one road. Uh, while making decision, while considering these two options, the poet was able to make out like both of the options were equally promising, both of the options were equally alluring. Like if he would go from any of those roads, he would be able to reach somewhere, that he knew. But if he would take the second road, it would take him, it would open up the new vistas, new opportunities of life. And it was that road which had not been taken up by many other people. So the first road was a beaten track, and the second road was not a beaten track. So we were on the third stanza. So let me finish, compile up this first and second stanza again. Two roads diverged in a yellow wood, and sorry I could not travel both and be one traveler. Long I stood and looked down one as far as I could to where it bent in the undergrowth. So when he found two roads diverged, divided, when he got at a crossroad where he had to choose any one out of two, he regretted the fact like he could not travel both of the roads at the same time. That's a limitation with a human being, that we cannot choose two options at the same time. So he long I stood, it is significant of the fact he took some time. He brooded over the consequences, he brooded over the merits or demerits of taking the decision, and then eventually he kept on looking at one road as far as he could, till that road curved and became invisible or disappeared. So he thought as much as he could. Then he took the other. What is the other? The other road. So then he thought about the other road as just as fair, and it was equally promising or alluring and having perhaps a better claim. And yes, though the road was both of the, even the second road seemed as promising as the first road was, yet he was able to make out like the second road would make him lead better, would make him reach up to the better destination. It would end up with better, results. This is what he found, thought at the time. The reason was because it was grassy and wanted wear. Why second road seemed more alluring, why he found it more attractive, why he found it more advantageous, because that road was not taken up by many other people, because it was grassy and wanted wear. It was full of grass, and that was of the indication, that was clear that that road had not been trodden upon, that road had not been traversed upon by many other people so far. That's why it was still grassy and wanted wear, so it needed to be trodden upon. Though as for that, the passing there had warned them really about the same. Yet again, he considers this option. Again, he is able to make out like whatever. Though the second road seems to be more alluring, yet one thing is clear: like even if he picks up the first road, the results would not be that bad. And both that morning equally lay in leaves no step had trodden black. And both that morning equally lay. So what are both here? Both are the roads. And on that particular day, both of the roads, they were equally covered up with leaves. Which season is it in the poem? Which season the poet talks about? Autumn season. What makes me say that it was the autumn season? The poet has not used the autumn word anywhere in the poem, but the poet has used the word yellow wood. And yellow wood is indicative of the fact like it was the autumn season. Okay, and in the autumn season, the birch trees they shed their leaves and they actually turn off yellow. So these are the decomposed leaves which had fallen. Okay, so and both that morning equally lay in leaves, no step had trodden black. So on that particular morning, just a minute, some child is saying something. Yeah, yellow wood. Yes, Kurshad, better. Your answer is correct. And both that morning equally lay in leaves, no step had trodden black. So on that particular morning, both of the roads were covered with leaves. Which leaves? Yellow leaves, fallen leaves. And no step had trodden black, and no one had traversed upon those roads. Nobody had walked over those two roads. That's why the roads were covered with grass or the leaves, and those leaves had not been crushed. Okay, no step of means the step of the human being. No one had walked over those roads, and eventually none of the leaves had been, crushed. Oh, I kept the first for another day. So when he thought like this, when he was considering both of the options, then eventually he decided like he would take the first road some other day. Oh, so the decision came up that I kept the first for another day. What is first? First is a road. The first road he decided that he would think about that first option some other time. If he would take up the first road some other time, it means that he chose the second road. Yet, knowing how way leads on to way. Children, once when you start walking on one road, once when you start uh, traversing upon one road, then what happens? Like from one way to another, you automatically lead. You are able to go on and on without coming back. Okay, if you take a route to JP Nagar from Adarsh Nagar, then you may take up any route. Okay, you may come from the park side, or you may come from the Chick Chick roadside, right? Or you may come from the football roadside. You will reach JP Nagar in the end. But yes, one of these three routes might be a shortcut. That would depend upon your availability. That would depend upon like where you are at that time. So he kept the first road. He thought like he would take one road some other day, yet knowing how way leads on to way. Even if you start off from Chick Chick Road, or you start from Basant Continental, or you start from Football Chowk, you'll in the end reach the school, which is in JP Nagar, right? If you start from Football's roadside, from there also one way would lead on to another. If you start from Chick Chick Chonk, even then from there you'll have a straight road which would take up to your school. If you come from Basant Continental, from there you might have to take turns and take long route. Then, but in the end you'll reach JP Nagar. So point is one way, how way leads on to way. The roads never come to end. From one road, you come to another road. Okay? If you take up one option, you come across another option. From there, you have another choice. From there, you have another choice. So the life doesn't stop. So, yet knowing how way leads on to way, the poet was very well aware of the fact like if he would take up whatever the road he would take up, eventually uh, he will end up somewhere. I doubted if I should ever come back, and moreover, he was not sure. He doubted that he would not be able to come back. Of course, if you start from one road, From there, you will reach your destination, maybe a little later or maybe a little sooner, but you will reach. And there is usually there is no need to come back. If you're coming to your school, JP Nagar, then if you start from Chick Chick, you will reach earlier. But if you start from Basant Continental side, you'll reach a bit later on. But you will reach. You want to go back and then come to the road from where you might reach earlier? No. Even if you will reach earlier, you will reach. There is no point of going back and taking another route, right? So I doubted if I should ever come back. He doubted. The poet had a doubt that he would not come back. He would not, he would not take a reverse gear. Okay, he would not. He would continue his journey from the road which he has taken up. Maybe he would take the first road or the second road, and from there he will have his own. He will be able to make his own way out, right? So the point is that whatever option we take in our life, that option will make us reach somewhere, and we don't have to go back. So here it's all about choice. So what choice which we make today, that will be our future. Or you can say what we are today, that is because of what we chose yesterday. If we made some choice yesterday, today we cannot change that. It's not that we would go back to yesterday and we would change our choice. That's not possible also. Okay, if we daily keep on changing our choices, then what happens? We won't be able to reach up anywhere. So we have to go on and on with the choice which we have made. We should remain consistent also then. Okay, so consistency is a hallmark of success also. That is also, very important. And poet also very well knew that once he would pick up one road, he would not have the need to come back. I shall be telling this with a sigh. Somewhere ages and ages hence, two roads diverged in a wood, and I took the one less traveled by. And that has made all the difference. So I shall be telling this with a sigh, somewhere ages and ages hence. Somewhere ages and ages hence means somewhere in the future. He says, like, I'll be talking about the choice I made. He said, I shall be telling this. What this? This means the choice which I did not make, the road which I did not take. So, the road which I did not take, see the previous stanza, third stanza, I kept the first for another day, yet knowing how way leads on to way, I doubted if I should ever come back. So, he was sure that he would not be able to come back. And he says that I will be telling this with a sigh. Sigh is indicative of his, regret. So, he said that I might be regretting this. I might have to regret about the choice I did not make after in future. Somewhere ages and ages and somewhere in the future, I might be talking about the choice I did not make. I might be regretting about the choice I did not make. Okay, understand this line? The poet says that in the future he might be regretting about the choice he did not make. Okay, two roads diverged in a wood, and I took the one less traveled by. See the repetition. So he says that I'll be talking to somebody in the future with a regretful tone that once upon a time when I was going to make a choice, when I was at the crossroads, when I had two options, then I took one road, then I opted that choice, which which was not which was not a beaten track. I took the one less traveled by. I took the option that was not opted by many other people so far. Okay, I chose that stream. I chose that option, which was not a very common choice. Common choice. I opted for something new. I took the one less traveled by. So he says, like, uh, I'll be like talking about the choice I did not make. I'll be talking about the choice I made because it was not a common choice. And that choice, and that has what that choice, the choice which I made has made all difference. and I will know this, that my choice will actually affect my future. He says the choice which I'm making today, it's going to affect my future, and in the future also I will be what would be the outcome of my this choice. So my future would depend upon the choice I'm making today, and in the future when I'll be talking to somebody about the choice I made, then I would know that my future at that time, whatever I would be, that would be because of the choice I made in the past. Got it? So, what the point in the end? So, Robert Frost Children, I always say, like in the beginning, I've been telling you, like it's an autobiographical poem. The poet is talking about his own choice. The poet is talking about his own life. One point I told you that time, like this poem, poet, he wrote this poem to his friend Edward Thomas. Though the poem was not at all written in a very serious tone, it did not have any seriousness. And his friend, he appreciated the poem because of its serious content. And Robert Frost quipped that he is never more serious than when he is joking. So when he is joking, he's more serious. The point is, even when he's joking, there is some philosophy in his, in his words or in his write-ups, whatever. So it's actually a philosophy, and we cannot deny this. And though the poem was written on very autobiographical note, upon some on an issue. But in the end, the poem became universal in appeal and gave us the message that our decisions, are very, very important in framing and shaping our future. So what we become, what we are today, that is because of some choice which we made yesterday, and what we will be tomorrow, that would be because of the choice which we are making today. So choices are very important, and while making choice, we must not be impulsive. We must not make haste. We must do the things uh, in a very thoughtful and contemplative way. We must think. Okay, without thinking, we must go on and on. And secondly, children, autobiographical. Second autobiographical element is, like you all know that Robert Frost was an American, right? So as an American, he was a very good poet right from his youth. So in the beginning, when he was in America, he could not earn that good name and fame as a poet. And then he decided that if he go to England, then maybe from there he would be able to get good name, because in England the poets were in great demand. But in America, Robert Frost was not getting his due as a poet. He was not at all, acknowledged as a poet. So then there was an option in front of him whether he should go to England or not. Okay, whether he should go to England, that was one road. Whether he should stay back in this America, that was another choice. Now the choice was either to go to the foreign land or to stay back in native land. These two roads. Okay, so the one road, staying in his own country, was the most common road. Everybody in his own country was staying in his own country, and that is very easy. You are in your own country, and you know everybody, people know you, the life is going on, it's okay. But when you take up a challenge and you go to a foreign land to see the new avenues or the new opportunities, that would require you to be more adventurous, that would require you to be more painstaking, and that there is risk also. When you go to altogether a new land, then you'll have to settle yours, you'll have to like look for new avenues in everything. At least in your own country, you don't have to worry about your own home or family or friends. But when you go to a foreign land, then you'll have to start from scratches. So then Robert Frost was in a confusion, like whether he should go to that foreign land or whether he should stay in his own country. Staying in his own country, what was the drawback about that? The drawback was that there he was getting what he was already doing. The things were not becoming better. But going to foreign land might be risky also, because when unless and until you face a situation, you cannot say like what would happen. So going to new land would mean like taking risk, becoming adventurous also. And yes, he decided to take the road which was less traveled. That was not a common path at that time. So not many people went to the foreign land to establish themselves as poets. But Robert Frost went, and there very soon he became an acclaimed poet. He got famous as a poet, and after getting name and fame in that foreign land as a poet, he came back to America, and then in America also he was hailed as a great poet. Okay, so once he took chance, and later on he never had to look back. That is what he said. I doubted if I should ever come back. Though he came back to his own country later on, but he did not know earlier whether he would be able to come back or not. But yes, he came back because he had already attained, or he had already acquired what he wanted in his life, right? So that is why I'm saying like it is autobiographical in nature, because it's about his own choice whether he should go to that foreign land as to get himself established as a poet or not, right? And secondly, it is autobiographical because he wrote this poem to his own friend Edward Thomas. Though the poem was written in a very non-serious note, but the poem turned out to be a very philosophical poem upon the importance of making right choice in one's life. And once the choice which you make, one should remain consistent to that. It's not that today you make one choice and tomorrow you change that, and on third day you have another thing to start off. So that is not to be done. So remaining consistent with your choices, that is also very important. So here the so when we were talking about the poetic devices, in the first stanza, I told you the metaphors the poet has used in the words roads, wood, and undergrowth. So the words roads, yellow wood, and third undergrowth. Okay, who will tell me what kind of metaphors these are? That day I explained these words. Roads is symbolic of, road is metaphor of choices or the decisions which we make, right? Yellow wood is symbolic of adversities in life. What are adversities? Okay, okay. Arshdeep ji, that day also you did not know. No? Arshdeep, that day when you did not know the answer, then I explained. Yes, Jia, you are correct. Ansha is also giving correct answer. Japjeet, Manyaveet. Okay, very nice. All these children complexities. Jia, yes. Okay, so yellow wood. Now, Arshdeep, listen better carefully. I'm repeating the poetic devices. The very first poetic device in the first stanza, the poet using is metaphor. Metaphor means symbolism. What's the meaning of metaphor? Symbolism, right? Symbolism is what? Symbolism is when something represents the other thing. You people might have heard right from your childhood that our national flag has got three colors: white, green, orange. What is white symbolic of? White is symbolic of peace and purity, right? So, in the similar way, symbolism is metaphor. Okay, when I say it has got metaphorical meaning means it has got a deeper meaning. Metaphors are have deeper meaning. Okay, many messages are coming up to give answer for answering. Yes, Jia and Janvi, they are answering that undergrowth is symbolic of unknown land. Yes. So Gaurav is also answering that white is symbolic of peace. Tanveen Kaur, unknown opportunity for which we have no idea. Yes, this is for undergrowth. Manavit is also telling that undergrowth is a metaphor of the extreme point of our choice. Yes. Yes. Well, children, wait now. Just a minute. Don't send any message for 1 minute. So roads are for the children, those who don't understand, those who have not got the idea of metaphor. First of all, metaphor is a poetic device uh, in which the poet compares two objects without using as or like. Got it? There is a comparison in metaphor, but there is no use of as or like. For example, when I say, he is a lion. When I say he is a lion, doesn't mean that he has become lion. He is a lion means that he is brave like a lion. Okay, he's brave like a lion. And when I say he's brave like a lion, so I'm using poetic device simile, simile. But when I say he is a lion, it means that I am using the poetic device metaphor. Without using as or like, it is metaphor, but with as or like, it is simile. So road symbolizes choices. Road is one metaphor. Yellow wood. Yellow wood is what is the real meaning of yellow wood? The woods which have become the forest where the leaves have become yellow because of autumn season. And how have those leaves become yellow? When they have fallen. The fallen leaves which have turned out to be yellow because of the autumn season, right? And yellow wood also symbolizes difficult time. Okay, so, and then there is word undergrowth, and here undergrowth is symbolic of unknown land. Okay, you cannot see what is there for you in the unknown land. The poet had to go to England, but at that time he was in America. How could he say see what would happen to him in England? Okay, he just had the option that he can go there, but what will happen there in England, that he did not know. So, okay, so undergrowth is the unknown land up till which you cannot reach. In the second, and say then another poetic device I told you in this very poem is enjambment. Yes. Yes, Ishani is saying infinity of time where things becomes so dark. Okay. Yes, beta. Now I'm talking about the another poetic device in the same stanza, that is enjambment. Enjambment. And enjambment is, you can note down that day also, you I guess noted down, enjambment is a poetic device where the line continues to the another without use of punctuation or full stop. So in the second sentence, the poet has used the poetic device enchantment. And children, you find out in the whole poem, where has the poet used the poetic device enchantment? Yes, come on, tell me. In the second stanza, is there enchantment? In the second stanza, is there any enchantment? Yeah, the answers are coming. Many children are sending me the answers. Uh, Fourth line, first stanza, second line, fourth line, Gia says. Let me check. Yeah. In the fourth line, it is enchantment, though as for that, the passing there. After there is no full stop or comma, so this is enchantment. So very correct, Gia, and many other children are sending the same message, I guess. So as for that, the passing there it is enchantment. And in the third stanza, is there any answer of enchantment? Hmm? In the third stanza, what's the example of enchantment? First line, very good. Yes, Jia, Ishani, Jia, Janvi, Japji, Tanveen. Very good. So good, intelligent class. So in the third stanza, the very first line, here the poet has used the poetic device enchantment. Now in the fourth stanza, tell me, has the poet used enchantment? Okay, in the fourth stanza, first line again, you were saying yes. Yes, Manya, Veed, Tanveen, Arshdeep. Very good, Arshdeep, beta. Anshya. Anshya is a third line. And I. Beta, Ansha, in third line, there is a hyphen. There is that what we call hyphen is there. So Ansha, that hyphen is a punctuation mark. Okay, first line, Gaurav says, Ishani says, Jia and all. Yeah, yes, beta. Okay. So now see the last fourth stanza. In the fourth stanza, the first line, I shall be telling this with a sigh. There the poet has used enchantment. Okay, so enchantments, you make a note, you keep a separate note, like where are the examples of enchantments? You are to learn the lines also. Okay, let's talk about the other poetic devices. Metaphor we have discussed in first stanza. Uh, is there any example of alliteration in the first stanza? Yeah, what's the rhyming scheme of the first stanza? The rhyming, not only first, the whole poem has one rhyming scheme. So see, would. When we talk about the rhyming scheme, then we must look at the last word of the each line. Just a minute, children. I'll see your message. Would. Underline the word would, all of you, on your notebook. Would. And the sound over here is would. Would. Right? Second line, last word is both. Would, then both. So both the sounds are different. Would, and then both. So we write with would A. Okay, that is A. With both, it becomes B sound because that's a different sound. What's the meaning of B? Different sound. A has would and both. That's a different sound. Then stood, would. So it's the sound with same as would. So now this stood will have the sound of A. Okay. Would and stood have same sound. Now you come to could, would, stood, could, same sound. So even could will have A. And then you come to undergrowth. Then you come to undergrowth and undergrowth. Would, stood, could, undergrowth. Different, both undergrowth. So undergrowth matches with both. So undergrowth will have the sound of B sound. B means its sound is like both, and would, stood, and could had same sound. So the poetic device becomes, yes. Let's now check your answers. Yes, the poetic device comes. The poetic device becomes A B A A B. Yes. Okay, Gaurav is correct now. Arshdeep is correct. Japji is correct. Arshdeep, your answer is also correct. Yes, yes. Right. Okay, many children, their answers have become correct. So the rhyming scheme of the whole poem is children A, B, A, B. And when we write the rhyming scheme, it should be denoted in small letters. Don't write capital A, capital B, that would be wrong. So, okay. So this rhyming scheme of the whole poem, you can check all these stanzas. The rhyming scheme is A, B, A, B. Okay. So the time is almost over. Simile in second stanza. Okay, let's see. Then took the other as just as fair. Yes, Manevit, you are correct. Here the poetic device used is simile. What is simile? Where the poet has used the impression, where the poet has used the expression as or like, and the poet is comparing something with the other. Okay, so we'll talk about the poetic devices in the next period. Okay, so time is almost over. Uh, yes, children are sending many messages. Okay, Manavit, we'll discuss in the next period now.